of the name Air India, the flight company? Recently, the beginning of this month, October, this name has been all over the news channels and newspapers. You might have heard or read Tata Group wins Air India bid for 18,000 crore rupees from the government of India. Tata Sons regain control of Air India after 68 years. Tata Group celebrating this historic moment. A historic moment, indeed. But why? There is a story behind that. What you know as Air India today was started by the brilliant industrialist Mr. J.R.E. Tata of the Tata family and his friend Mr. Neville Vincent years before India got her independence. You see, Mr. J.R.E. Tata loved flying. In fact, when the first Flying Club of India opened in Bombay in the year 1928, the Bombay Flying Club, Mr. J.R.E. Tata enrolled himself to become a licensed pilot. And in just a year, he became the first licensed pilot of India. Yes, with the license number 001. Mr. J.R.E. Tata and Mr. Neville Vincent, who was from South Africa, met in the year 1929 and they soon became very close friends because both of them loved flying and both of them were pilots. One day, as they were talking, Mr. Neville proposed an idea to J.R.D. to start a commercial airline company. Now, Mr. J.R.D. Tata immediately fell in love with this idea, and both of them strongly believed that India needed an airline for its future. So they started putting together a plan to start an airline company. But to start an airline company, a commercial airline company, what do you need? Of course, money. So what did J.R.D. Tata do? He went and approached his uncle, Sir Dorabji Tata, who was the chairman of the Tata Group at that time. He explained his idea and plan to start an airline company and requested Sir Dorabji Tata to invest money. But Sir Dorabji Tata was not convinced. He was reluctant. But J.R.D. Tata was persistent and he eventually convinced Sir Dorabji Tata to invest the money to start the company. So, in the year 1932, Tata Airlines was established with an investment of rupees 2 lakhs from the Tata Group. In fact, in the year 1932, in this very same October month, J.R.D. piloted the first commercial aircraft of Tata Airlines, a single-engined aircraft, de Havilland Portsmouth, carrying letters and mails for the Indian Postal Department from Karachi to Bombay. Yes, you heard it right. The first flight carried letters and mails and not people. It was airmail services. From then on, Tata Airlines flourished. Its profits rose. Soon, it started domestic passenger services too to carry people across the country. In fact, in the year 1946, Tata Airlines wanted to expand their operations, meaning they wanted to fly more routes, buy more aircraft, etc., etc., which meant they needed more money. So, what did they do? They decided to raise money from people outside the company, from the public, from the people of India, by giving them a share of the company in exchange for money. Thus, Tata Airlines became a public joint stock company and was renamed as Air India. In the year 1947, J.R.D. Tata wanted to further expand the flight routes, this time internationally. which meant he needed more money. So he proposed to the Indian government to invest money by buying 49% of the company. This proposal was readily agreed upon by the Indian government, and thus Air India International was born in 1948 with the first international flight service between India and London. Though Tata Airlines was the first to start airline services in India, in a few years, many small companies also started their own private airline services. Now, post independence, that is after 1947, the government of India, led by Nehru, wanted to have just one airline company, and that too controlled directly by the government, which meant that all private airline companies had to be merged and brought under the direct control of the government of India. So, in the year 1953, the government of India bought over Air India from the Tata Group for a price of 2.8 crore rupees. All other private airlines were also acquired and merged into Air India, and thus it came under the direct control of the government. So now Air India no longer belonged to the Tata Group but was under the ownership of the government of India.
As part of the restructuring and merging of the airlines, all the private domestic flight services were grouped under Indian Airlines, while Air India controlled the international routes.
Our Prime Minister Nehru appointed J.R.D. Tata as the chairman of Air India to lead the company with his experience, and he remained so for the next 25 years. Under the leadership of J.R.D., Air India performed extremely well both in India and internationally. Post 1990s, the scenario changed. The government of India opened the skies to private companies to operate their own airline services. And thus, companies like East West Airlines, Air Sahara, etc., started their own airline company, which meant that now people had more choices. They could choose a different airline other than Air India. So long, Air India was enjoying as the sole flight carrier for India, but now it faced competition from private parties. With this competition, Air India slowly started incurring losses, and this only increased year on year until it could not recover from this huge cycle of debt and losses. Thus, in Jan 2020, the government of India, led by Mr. Modi, decided to sell Air India to a private company because it could no longer bear the cycle of debt and losses. So, from among the companies that expressed interest to buy Air India, the government of India sold Air India to Tata Group, Tata Sons, for a sum of rupees 18,000 crore rupees. And thus Tata Group once again became the proud owner of Air India this October 2021, coming a full circle from where it started in 1932. So, indeed, it was a big moment of celebration for the Tata Group. Hope you enjoyed this little story from history. Until I see you again, this is Sangeeta saying bye from the Read Club.